All right, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Aligning with Success. Again, your host, Mike DiMuccio here. And it is October 30th, 2023, the end of October tomorrow. And there's a few incentives that I want to just make note of that some of you may be running for. And as it is month end, this is typically what we refer to as the month end stretch, where you stretch the month as best as you can to help people in their progress towards a new rank advancement or a new goal. Some of you are in qualification for the boss incentive, which means you will have 2,000 US dollars rewarded to you while you're in attendance at the boss event if you completed that incentive, which ends tomorrow at midnight Pacific time. So if you're in the running for that, check out what that means. It's I think it's about 15,000 in volume, of which 11,500 of that volume has to come from group volume, not personal volume. So you can have up to 3,500 personal volume, and at least 3 new teammates who've rank advanced any of the ranks. So that was the incentive for boss, which is, I think, incredibly generous of Niken, because I mean, think about it. That's 2,000 US dollars for 15,000 points volume. That's in addition to your bonuses and commissions for that activity. And then if that's not enough, Niken has also added in the month of October, running through to the end of this year and the end of 2024, the We Accelerate bonus, which means you're earning an extra 20% on the volume, the personal volume of new enrollees as of October. So this is an incredible time for Niken. It is an incredible time for developing a Niken business. I'm pretty much on I pretty much have the pulse of what goes on in network marketing as an industry. As a high achiever in the industry over the years, people tend to reach out to me almost daily, actually. And I get to see what's going on, what's new and improved, what they're up to, what they're pitching and promoting and so forth. And I can assure you, there is no bonus out there that is equal to this one, where you're getting virtually double the commissions on the personal volume of people you enroll in their first 4 months of business. So I'm just going to keep re-emphasizing this point, because it's insanely generous of Niken to do this. But if you were the owner of this company, or you were the CEO of this company, and you wanted to organize yourself in such a way that you stimulated a whole new generation of growth, a whole new generation of Niken wellness consultants joining Niken, how would you do it? Well, I mean, Niken is amazing. The products are amazing. The company is stable. How could you communicate to your field or to possible enrollees as business owners why they should join today? And for those of us who've been around, the answer is there's a lot more money on the table today, a lot more. And so this would be a very good time, if you were ever thinking about getting involved in a business of your own, partnering up with a company with a great tradition and a technology that is unparalleled. There are no equals out there in terms of Niken. Niken's total wellness approach is a very unique approach. It's philosophy, etc. So what we have in Niken is an incredibly unique offer. By the way, I just hired my daughter to help me put together a page. So right now, sovereignlife.me, www.sovereignlife.me is a page that we send people to learn about Niken. So if you were on my daughter's team, or if you want to just simply use that page and you were looking to help somebody learn about Niken on their own, they can watch some videos, review some materials. That page has a lot of excellent presentation materials and tools to help somebody learn about why Niken would be a good fit. So I've actually hired her in the capacity of revamping it to something that she would use currently, knowing what she knows and all the things that we've got going on. So I'm looking forward to seeing her version of that come November, mid-November. She says she'll have it ready. So anyway, that's an aside, but all I'm saying is I'm investing in tools and tooling up for the purpose of enrolling new people, because even I know that this is a great time to be enrolling people. So I want to be doing that myself. And so the first thing I always do, I've always done this, I ever since I've been in NECANN, the first thing I do is what I call tool up. That means I look for what resources are there for me to educate people about NECANN in a very simple and duplicatable way. And if there's something missing or it doesn't quite convey what I think it should convey, I develop the tool myself. And so for the longest time, I've been known as one of the people who creates materials, tools and technologies and so forth. And for example, this is one of the tools that I've put together along with my partner, Ben, in this capacity, putting together the tools, the most recent tools, a better way and so forth, to convey the value of NECANN to the world at large. So I tool up when it's time to grow, to expand. And I revamp tools when I want to get laser focused and get the cutting edge for NECANN. So that's what I'm doing. I hope you're doing that too, or at least tapping in to what we're recommending as we're recommending it as we go along. One of the tools, by the way, I'm glad to see Sherry's on the call, is Sherry's call on Monday nights. How many of you participate on Sherry's call on Monday nights? Okay. Let me tell you what I think that call ought to be. And I think I did say it on the chat the other day when Sherry posted it. I think Sherry's call, the call that focuses people's attention on the benefits of the products through product stories, I think that needs to become the #1 call of the week. Like, of all the calls that we have in the NECANN Connect schedule, mine included, I think the #1 call of the week, the one that has the most people plugged in and the most guests plugged in, ought to be that call. My business wasn't built because I'm smart. My business, or because I had great tools. My business was built on stories. The tools help inform people, help them organize their thoughts in terms of how to approach the business. But what ultimately causes people to join the business or to purchase the products is a connection that they have with the products. And that usually comes from a story that's been shared. And so I think the most powerful tool we have in our arsenal of tools is testimonials. And so I really want to urge you to add Sherry's call to your Monday nights as a tool for building your business and inviting guests. So that call is at 8:30 p.m. Eastern. And the Zoom link she publishes, it's also on the NECANN Connect schedule. It's also published every Monday. You'll see it posted, even on Sundays sometimes. You'll see the link posted. So I just want to make that emphasis very, very clear that I stand firmly behind the resolution that that call becomes the #1 call of the week. And that meaning the most populated call, the most popular call, the most anticipated call, because some of the stories we have lived through as NECANN consultants will make your hair stand on end. I've had the most phenomenal experiences. I continue to have them. Every story I get, every time I share a NECANN product, it results in a great story. So there should be no shortage of great stories to tell on that call. So if you have one, please feel free to share your story. If you have a guest or a customer who's had one, please encourage them to share their story. That's how this business became to be a business, and how it will continue to thrive is when we make the stories and people front and center. The information, the beautiful packaging, the nice brochures and all that, beautiful to have, they appeal to the mind and they help the mind say, okay, what I'm feeling because of that story is now making sense because of how they're explaining it. So the two work together. It's not one or the other, but it is predicated with the story. The motivation for people to act is how they feel, not what they think. Think about it. There's probably, I'm guessing, a few dozen items in your home that, if you really think about it, was a complete waste of money. But you bought it anyway. At the time, it wasn't even something that necessarily made sense. It was just something that you emotionally connected to and therefore purchased. And now you'll think about it and think it's just sitting there. Nobody's using it. Nobody's doing anything with it. How many of you have an exercise machine that's just sitting there collecting dust? Well, there's a lot of hands. Me too. So
I use mine.
okay, good. But the point I think is well taken, that we do spend money emotionally, and then we justify our expense with our rational mind. So it's really important that we start to approach Nikken from that perspective as well. People will join because they feel good, and what they hear and how people are emoting makes them feel. That'll be the reason they join. Why they stay will become a function of how they rationalize that and then how they apply what they're learning, right? And that's the job of the training and the ongoing development, like a call like this. So I made a point that I wanted to make. Let's see. The other thing that I want to talk about is, I guess it's this month end. So how do we close out the month? How do we make this month work for you? For those of you who are running for the boss event, great. But some of you may have people on your team that you don't even know about that may be closing in on a rank advancement. I mean, I was on a call with a high-ranking person who didn't even know the senior rank was brought back into the Nikken compensation plan. Can you imagine? It's like, where have you been? What rock have you been hiding under? I guess the checks are pretty good. We don't even have to think about your business. So, the truth of the matter is there are some things that people don't know about, incentives, awards, possibilities that somebody has to pay attention to. So I'm going to encourage you as leaders of your business to know who's close or closing in on a rank advancement. Senior being 500 points, executive being 1,500 points, and then on from there to silver. In fact, you might have a combination of things that you can work out. Maybe you have some potential customers you don't know about, or your team has some potential customers. With one phone call, one ABC call, and you sharing your story, that potential customer will become an actual customer. And now your team and your business has grown. That's what we do, guys. We tell stories. We're professionally paid storytellers. It starts with our own personal story, and then it spreads from there. So I've got Jeannie, who's on the line. Jeannie, you've kind of had an interesting experience over the last week since you've plugged in to our program that we launched last week, a little bit over a week ago, called the 18 Karat Gold Accelerator Team. And I guess this past Saturday was the first training that you participated in with your new senior consultant. So might you share maybe a little bit of your insight for those who were not part of that training, why this would be a program they might want to think about stepping into sooner than later?
Oh, absolutely. I'm almost speechless. I am learning, and Sharon was learning. And it's just, first of all, from my point of view, seeing it, hearing how you handled things, and Ben handled things, and Dave handled things, and the questions asked. And from Sharon's point of view, she got a lot of questions answered and was thrilled by understanding what's going on. And then when Barbara came on too, and Barbara shared stories, and she was thrilled by the stories that she heard too. She was on the call tonight, the stories with Sherry tonight too, which was good. But yeah, I think it's so invaluable. It it's a true ABC, which I have not participated in very much in the past, but will now for sure. And even maybe I can be an A too. So yeah, everybody get somebody. Get somebody. That sounds terrible, but um, yeah, keep sharing and bring them in. Bring them in because we're going places. This is phenomenal. It's something that NECAN has needed for a long time, and I know Mike, you've been doing this for years and years um, with the formula and with the why conversation, the how and the what. And I really see it bigger now than I ever have. I guess when you have somebody with you, it's really exciting.
That's really a great point, by the way. It's often when you move from being the person who the information is targeted to now the sponsor of the person of the where the information is targeted, you're seeing it from a different point of view.
Yes.
And I call that the strategic point of view. So when you're first going through the process of learning about NECAN, if done correctly, the why, the how, the what, as I keep pointing to our three-prong or three-conversation approach, the why, the how, the what, those conversations really move somebody through a process of understanding why they would look at this or anything for that matter as far as an opportunity. Do they have a need? Identifying that need, flushing it out, and acknowledging it, then moving to, well, how does NECAN actually fill the need? That's the next part. So that's an explanation of NECAN, the products, the opportunity, the company, the history, the stories, etc. It's a briefing of NECAN, overview of NECAN. And then if they see there's a fit, they're going to know, okay, what do I need to do to integrate this into my life and to get this thing off the ground in a significant way that will actually help me meet my needs? So those are the three conversations that lead to a person making a decision, a proper decision as to how NECAN could fit either as a consumer of the products, and that might be the end of that, or as a consultant who maybe is doing this on a very part-time basis, maybe no specific goals in mind, or as a partner, somebody who really has very different needs or very specific needs, and they want a plan that they want to be able to execute. That's really what comes out of an education about NECAN through those three steps. I forget why I got started in this conversation. But the point being is the process of duplication is what informs somebody, and having an awareness of that process as the person going through it, you're just listening and learning. It's like me taking you for a ride in a new city, and you're looking out the window, and I'm driving from, say, the airport where I picked you up to my house, and you're just looking out the window, looking at, the buildings, the tree line, the whatever. I mean, you're captivated by this new experience, this new vision. If I handed you the keys and said, go pick up your friend at the airport and bring him to my place, you'd be lost. You'd be like, well, I wasn't paying attention to the streets. I don't know what turns you made, and so forth, because they weren't looking at it from the point of view of somebody who's going to take somebody through the information. They were just experiencing the information. So it's a different point of view when you're now in the driver's seat and you're taking somebody for a ride, exposing them to the information. That point of view is what I call the strategic point of view. So that's why it's important to have a process that's well-defined, that you take someone through, and then the next time through, they're taking somebody through, but now they're the one taking somebody through, so they're getting a new appreciation for the process. And now you become very learned about this process, and it becomes what we do and what we teach. Sherry.
Thank you. I wanted to add something I thought was really interesting. First of all, and I've told Jeannie this when we've talked, to me, it's the most fun. I mean, it gets the most interesting. It's the most fun. And you can when you are bringing people through. I mean, the brand new people, I always tell them, wait till you get somebody on your team. When you start building a team, then you're going to really, because everything just expands. So, but I was listening to this podcast, and they were interviewing this man he's brilliant. He's written bunches of books. He's an organizational psychologist. His name is Adam Grant. And he was talking about this study that I thought was applicable to what you're saying, which is he was saying that they did this research and they found that, and I haven't told my oldest daughter this because she doesn't need any more help thinking she's the smartest, but that the oldest child is oftentimes has a slightly higher IQ than other children. And so, they had all these constants and looking at it, and, it depends, of course, on how many other kids and so forth. But what he boiled it down, the point he was making is why he thinks they're more intelligent, not because you think, well, you as parents, you spend more attention with them, but he actually said it's because they're teaching younger siblings things. And being in that teaching role actually made them smarter. And so I thought, that's pretty interesting, because isn't it true that when you're training something, the teacher always learns the most, right? And so I think it's so applicable too, because you can feel a little daunted about, I don't know if I know enough. I don't know if I can, share what I know. But there's nothing like taking that leap and being taking on that role of teaching, that you may learn it together, but you've taken enough of a leadership responsibility that you're going to learn it a little bit better so that you can teach it more clearly. And guess what? It'll make you smarter.
Yeah, well, that exactly is the way it works. It's exactly how this business works. We learn and apply, and then we teach what we've learned and applied. And it's when we're teaching it that we're actually figuring it out for ourselves, because the job of trying to get somebody else to understand what you now know means you have to articulate it in pictures and in ways for them to comprehend it, which now you're analyzing from a completely different perspective, and you're going, whoa, I had a ton of my ahas as a Nikken kid growing up, if you will, from being in front of it. Now, I was sort of thrust in that position because I was one of the first people in Canada. So I didn't have much of a choice. If I was going to have a business, I had to stand up in front of an audience day one, because I was it. There was nobody else to turn to. They were in the States. So I was in front of a group from the beginning with a flip chart, trying to figure out what the heck I was supposed to say to these people. And in the process of listening to audios and making my notes, and then having my notes with me in front of an audience, and then trying to communicate the idea to the audience, that's when you really get it. That's when you go, oh man, wow, that was good. And I remember I would sit there and I would turn around to the whiteboard and I'd make a little tiny note at the top of the page as a reminder to self, because it was like, wow, that was really good. I got to remember that. Reminder to self. It's true. That's how you learn. And so I'm going to encourage you guys to pick up some of these tools from lifeinbalancetools.net, lifeinbalancetools.net. So this brochure, which is in French, English, and Spanish, is the images that, you look at that image, and if you're listening to any of the presentations, then you're going to be able to put your own words to these images to explain to somebody what the significance of this. Like, this is 12 pages. Now you can imagine, of all the slides I have, I had to boil it down to 12. So I had to pick what slides do I absolutely need in order to communicate what it is that I absolutely need to communicate. So this little brochure serves as a way for me to tell a story and to send them home with the brochure with, by the way, the two most important pillars that they've identified as a need circled. And they're the ones who circle it. So they're going to go home with those two pillars staring them in the face. That is, they have identified a need. And the answer to how to solve that need is in the remainder of the brochure, the conversation which we've had, which is really basically, how does Nikken fit the bill? And so, and at the last page is, in order for you to really be able to answer this as to whether or not Nikken is a fit, then we need to complete this process. So the only thing I'm ever asking anybody to do is to go through the process. Because if you go through the process, and now Jeannie, you've been through this process with a person. What is the result of this process where this person's concerned from your perspective?
Where's Sharon now?
Yep.
Yeah, she is on board, and she
Define
is
that. Let's be specific. Time, money,
okay.
contacts.
Yes, yes, yes. She's making her list. By the way, I found an extra $1 million list, so I mailed it to her. So she just got it on Friday.
Which is also,
So
by the way, available
yeah,
through Life and Balance Tools. This is your
yeah,
blueprint.
yeah. She's making her list. She is setting aside time. We're deciding on a time that we can check in with each other every day. She has a couple of events that she's putting together up in Prescott Valley. And so she's focused in on what she needs to do. And she has to be because she's a busy girl. So she's very into calendaring her life and getting things done. And she's got all of her calls in her calendar to make sure she gets on certain calls. I was wondering when to bring her on this one. So I guess anytime, but we're just getting her started and getting her focused in, and let's make calls. She's listening, contact and invite, learning that script. She's looked at sovereignlife.me, and she's like, oh, this is cool. She loves having a little platform because she's busy and she can send this to people, videos and things. So yeah.
And she's she's
She's
senior
a
executive.
senior.
She's a
Yeah.
senior. So she started with an energy pack and a sport bottle.
Yeah.
So what you have, and so the training has led to the actions that you're now starting to see. Okay.
She
So
set some goals.
Oh,
Ben
okay.
asked her what she set some goals, just set them right out, and she was like, oh, as I say them, I'm a little bit, well, my goodness. And Ben was great. He was like, yeah, that's good. It's good for you to have those goals, and they should make you go a little bit, and so we're working that out for the
Somewhere
next 90
between
days.
nervous and excited is a good
Nervous
place
and
to
excited,
be.
yeah.
Yeah. If you're not nervous, you haven't set a big enough goal or you haven't invested enough. You got to be a little bit nervous. I'll tell you what nervous is, by the way. So this is just an aside because I want to come back to this process. Having completed this process with somebody, there's an importance to this. But let me just talk about the idea of nervous. This is an elastic. And if I pull on this elastic, if I stretch this elastic, I feel tension. That's like a nervousness, a tension, the equivalent of that. So if I don't have any tension, means I've not created any tension. What creates tension? Setting a goal. That creates tension. The second you set a goal, you feel stressed. Now, is it a negative stress or is it a positive stress? I guess that depends on the goal. Because if it's something you really want, is that a negative stress or a positive stress? That's a positive stress. So you're actually intentionally setting in motion tension, which, by the way, activates the system. Tension is what's necessary for there to be a motor, for there to be something that creates force, movement. See, the idea is if my lower finger is where I am right now, and my higher finger is where I want to be, now there's tension. One of two things has to happen. Either the higher finger has to come down, which means I have to give up on my goal, or the lower finger has to come up, which means I need to start moving towards my goal. Which of these two do you want to be? The person who quits and gives up, or the person who's always moving towards their objective? Whether you reach it or not is not even the point. It's the point of setting it and moving toward it. That is the definition of success, the progressive realization of a worthy ideal. So make sure that goal is worthy. It's a worthy goal. So you start moving toward it and you release the tension. But guess what? If you've released the tension, you've moved close to your goal, then what do? Set another goal. And that's how we move up the Nikan compensation plan. Every one of those things is a little step forward, create a little bit of tension, move you forward, create tension, move you forward, create tension, move you, but you're creating the tension on purpose. You're not somebody who's being forced to do it because that's a negative stress. You're someone who's choosing. You're becoming a conscious creator and you're choosing it. And the beautiful thing about being a Niken is you're supported by a plethora of people who want to see you win. That's beautiful. And that's what we are offering people, the people on your contact list. This is what we're offering them. Yeah, we got great products. Yeah, we got a business opportunity. More importantly, we have a way of helping people become conscious creators. That is far more relevant and more important in all the areas of their life than anything else. So the Niken business opportunity is also sort of a grand life experience in short, in small little spurts, where we acquire skills and understanding that can be applied. Now, coming back to this, Jeannie, that you've got an experience now of having moved somebody through a process that seems somewhat organized, right?
Yes.
Can you do it again?
Yes.
Yeah. And
Yes.
every time you do it, it becomes second nature to you.
Mhm.
So if I get on a call with you and I say, okay, Gene, you got to tell me where this person is in the process, you'll be able to rhyme that off immediately. They've done this, they've got this, they're over here. And then I'm like, okay, I know exactly where we need to go next because I know the process.
Yeah.
So we're on the same page, moving toward somewhere, helping somebody move forward toward what it is that they want. Now, can you take somebody through the process? Can you teach Sharon how to take somebody through the process?
Yes, yes. Maybe not as eloquently, but it's the process. She can see that. She'll be able to see. That's why I like the chart.
And so now a business that is, I don't show up at an office. Nobody tells me what to do. I don't punch a clock. I don't have a workbook. And, like most businesses are pretty defined. Like you get a job and you show up your first day on the job. Somebody's telling you what your job is. They're giving you a job description. They're starting you on something and you learn how to do that thing. In Niken, you join Niken, it seems such an abstract thing. Like, what exactly am I joining and how exactly do I get where I want to go? And there seems to be so many moving parts to this thing. Where do I start? That's the first experience somebody has. So if you have a process that you've taken them through to get to where they are, I'm in now, then all you have to say is, remember the process that you went through? Well, now we just have to help a few people, get through that process. Let's start there. And so now the process they were through when they were just the passenger looking out the window becomes the process they take somebody through because now they're the one behind the driver's seat. And now they become aware and now they have a business because now they know what it means to do the business, to build the business. And they learn it by virtue of doing it themselves first, by experiencing it first. That's how this works. But if you don't have a clearly defined process, if you don't know how to use words to explain it, if you don't have pictures to show people so they can visually see it in their mind and relate to their own personal experience because you took them through that process first, then there won't be any way to duplicate. So the first thing is to have somebody go through this process so that they now have it within them. And then you reveal to them when they take somebody through it, what the process was. And now they become a conscious creator. They are able to do this business with their eyes closed. And that's how I became so proficient at it to the point where I was able to set crazy goals. I'm talking like stretch this band until it almost snaps goals. I could do that because I understood the process so well. I could help people get engaged in it without them thinking about it because I was the one doing the thinking until they went through it. And then I helped them become the one doing the thinking. You see what I mean? So that's how you build the business is you create something that other people can learn, apply, and then teach. That's it. And that's what we do. We learn, apply, and teach the process. We invite people to become invested in going through the process. And what do we dangle as the carrot? What is going to come through this process with me? Come on. It's your why. It's their personal motivation. That's why they're going to come through this process. That's the only reason why they'll come. They won't come for your reason. but they will come through the process for their reason. Awesome.
Yeah.
So there we go. Yeah. Fantastic. Okay. Let's see. Any questions, by the way, out there?
Yeah, I've got one, Mike, Pat Gormley out here in Western Maryland.
Hey, Pat.
I went through what I've been doing is I've been doing the ABC calls with Paul. And in this particular instance, the particular ABC call went awry. Didn't work out at all well. And it wasn't anything I did, or, you know, the person was just totally closed off. Just wasn't interested in, and I think there were some other mental issues involved. So we're continuing the process, but the problem is at least I don't have enough people that I really know well enough to feel comfortable with to get started with the whole process.
Okay. Well, I mean, that was the call last week. We talked about this last week, right? The idea of expanding your contact list. So then perhaps all the people you do know is not an actual request for them to go through the process, but a request for their help. Their help would be to help you identify people who would be ideally suited to join your team in order for them to understand what that meant would be for them to understand what it meant to go through this process. If they would volunteer their time to go through this information process for the sake of learning about it, so that they could clearly identify the type of person.
That's where I'm at this point, because I do not, Paul thinks I know a lot more people than I actually know.
Well, you know what? I would bet on Paul, because he's had a lot more experience at this than you have, and I've had a lot more experience that he has, and most people don't think they know as many people as they actually know. So maybe the first exercise ought to be stop the process and just build a contact list. Now, there's things that you can do to trigger your mind in terms of contacts. They're called tickler lists. Like, who do I know whose name starts with an A? Who do I know that's an accountant? Who do I know that's an acrobat? I don't know, anything with an A. Then go to B. And who do I know that's a banker? And who do I know that's first name starts with a B? And who do I know that's a baker? And who do I know? I mean, if all you did was take this next 2 or 3 days to just start compiling a list of people you actually know, not judging whether they would be right for this or not, because that's not the job right now. The task at hand is to simply build a list, because then you will take that.
I've got to completely rebuild I've been through the 100 list already. And matter of fact, I got to start all over again, because the 100 list was not very, several of the people on the list had died. Several of the people did not have numbers that I could contact them. So that had to be eliminated, because if you don't, especially with cell phone numbers, they don't publish them like they publish landline numbers. Mm-hmm. So that's a little bit of a disadvantage. So I'm sort of scrounging along, trying to figure out what do I do, where do I go from here, and many of the calls are probably going to have to be cold calls, where you actually have people you don't know.
Well, they're one phone call away from being known. So what you would do on that cold call is figure out how to make it a warm contact. It doesn't have to be a pitch.
With the background and training and development that I have, there's certain times I don't mind making cold calls, but there's certain I do have a fear component, because I have worked in sales before, or not sales before, but I've worked in a situation where I've had to do that, and I've not done very well.
Okay. Pat, if you follow the contact and invite script, it'll improve how well you do. But that contact and invite script works primarily with people you know. There is, however, the one that my daughter does, contact and invite training. Look for that one on YouTube. Contact and invite training by Sovereign Life Team. And that one, she gets into, because a lot of her contacts are people she met through social media, which means she didn't know them, but she built really quickly rapport with them in a conversation, because the call simply becomes.
I may have to do that. I may have to do that because I think another thing that Paul and I know a lot of folks through the National Federation of the Blind, but I haven't been to a big get together in probably 26 or 27 years. And so a lot of people that I used to know have either died or I've totally forgotten about.
Okay, well, as I was saying, then there is a way to build rapport with people you encounter in a way that is non-intrusive, non-invasive, in fact, quite inviting. And my daughter goes through that exercise on her contact and invite training audio/video on YouTube.
I may have to do that because
well, I'm not going to suggest you. I'm going to suggest you do that. It's probably not the first time I've made this suggestion, so I suggest you definitely study that, because there are some great ideas, and it might actually inspire you in terms of how you might approach some of the people on your list. I mean, every contact knows 100 people you don't know. They may lead you to somebody, and so you figure you may have exhausted your list. Probably not. Most people haven't. But even so, if you were to start anew, even with the names that are on your list that you've already reached out to, and you come at it from the approach that we recommend through that audio, and that is a request for help, people are often inclined to want to help if you're clear about what it is you're asking their help for, and if it's not too invasive. If it inspires them, then they're going to be more than willing to help. So it's all in your approach.
One thing I'm doing this Saturday, I'm playing and reading at a wedding, and this fellow I've known for several years because we play together in the symphony and in the local concert band that plays in the summertime. So we're both strong professional level musicians.
Well, then I would suggest you get that audio on your playlist, contact and invite training, Sovereign Life Team, and just play it over and over and listen and start imagining how you would approach any one of those people with that new intel.
I need more. Yeah, I need more imagination. I think I'm sort of looking. I've got a bit of a realistic bent in my, is this going to work? Is this not going to work? I got to be sure that it's going to be something that's going to be fruitful.
Well, hang on a second. That's a really interesting point. Is it going to work or isn't it going to work? I mean, that's not a fair question, because we already know it works. You just heard an example being spoken of a person going through a process, joining the team, and now prepping. That's a demonstration of the fact that it actually works, because otherwise it actually works. Right.
Is it going to work for me?
So the right question is it going to work for me? And that's a
crucial right there.
Well, I'll tell you something, because that's you being hard on you, right? Because at the end of the day, we know it works. And the evidence is everybody on this call right now is the fact that it works. You wouldn't be on this call if it didn't work. How did you get here? So it works. We know that as a fact. Then the question really becomes, can I develop myself and my confidence so that it works for me? Now, I'll tell you what I've learned is that success is experiential. Beliefs are experiential. So I know a lot of people say, well, you gotta believe, Pat, you gotta believe. And I'm going to tell you, no, Pat, you don't have to believe. That's not true. That's not been my experience. My experience is you got to have faith. You got to have a leap of faith. You got to trust that it works. So if you work it, you're going to experience the results that go with the work. So that's maybe a small leap of faith. And of course, if you're working with Paul, who has success, and you're leveraging his experience and his success, well, Paul knows it works. And not only that, but he believes it works. So he will be able to convey with conviction to the people you're trying to share information with that maybe you don't yet have. So you're doing the right thing by incorporating Paul as an A in your contacts. So just have a bit of faith. I mean, where there is in the absence of belief, faith is all there is. And faith is another way of saying trust. You need to trust. Well, in this case, I'm going to suggest you trust the process. Because if you trust the process and you execute the process, number one, you're going to get better at it. Number two, you're going to see results, and then you can build on those results the base of your belief. So it is experiential. It's something that you got to go through, and it takes time sometimes it takes time all the time to become a master at anything. But we start off with crawling, and then we learn how to walk, and then we learn how to jog, and then we learn how to run. I mean, it's a process. The question then becomes, is it worth it? Is it worth learning? Well, if not now, when? And to have a business where you have so much support to actually help you get those training wheels off the bike, this is the right time. This is the right place, if you can see it. So anybody else have a question or something they'd like to comment on? Going once.
Mike, I've got a question on the boss earnings or for the 2000. So I'm guessing that advancement would include somebody who's a customer who then decides
Correct.
to become a consultant, and then they get to either a senior or beyond, correct?
That's correct.
Great, thanks.
Any other questions? Okay, this is good. Good call. I'm going to suggest something though, as we wrap up the month. Make the month count. There's still 24 hours in the month, and lots can happen in 24 hours. So it's important to know if you've got anybody who's inching up or closing in on a rank advancement. Make sure you help them get that rank advancement done. Progress is really important for the development of hope and belief. So help somebody progress in the compensation plan. That's prime directive this time of the month. Also, there may be customers that you're not aware of, or prospects that they've been talking with that you're not aware of, that a simple ABC call could make a difference. We've got some good incentives with respect to the sleep system, the waterfall with some freebies. But nonetheless, an ABC call can be the difference between somebody's customer saying yes. And a lot of the phone work happens in the last 72 hours of the month, especially the last 24 hours of the month. So this is not a time of the month to cruise into the finish line. You got to run through the tape. That's true. And I just want to remind you, you're the business owner of your business. So it's up to you to be proficient at being a CEO, at being a results-oriented captain of your business. And what you do is what you will teach. Your behavior means something. There's a reason why I qualify for a lot of these programs, which I will as well for the Boss program. Why? Why would Mike DiMuccio, the $20 million man, qualify for any of these incentives? Why is it important for me at this point in my career to still actually qualify for any of these things? Anybody? Nancy?
I was going to say to show you're working, but also to give the example.
Yeah.
Don't just sit on your laurels.
New story.
If a lazy guy like me can actually do it, what could you do if you really wanted it? And I'm telling you, that's the truth. I am the laziest person I know. The reason why I became a success in network marketing is because I could never hold down a job. I'm too lazy. I had to do something that was more fun, and yeah, a job would just kill me. Yeah. So yeah, there's a reason to set an example and to be able to demonstrate that it's doable. Now, and you might think, oh, he's Mike DiMuccio. Of course he can do it. You think? I'll tell you something. When you're used to doing little, it's harder to do a lot, right? So yeah, it takes effort. I think it takes a little bit more effort because I got to really come outside of my comfort zone to do what, you know, I used to do when I first got started, that I did because I was hungry. You know, the motive for being hungry is very different than the motive today. When you're hungry, you're willing to do just about anything to get the job done, as long as it's legal and moral. And when you're lazy, then it takes a lot more energy to get yourself out of bed and going. Trust me, I know, I live it every day. And so I have to set objectives myself. And so I'm going to suggest not only do you finish this month, but you start thinking about next month's objectives. You start thinking about how to really progress in your business. What would a good month of November look like for you? Keeping in mind that that paycheck is going to come in December 15th, probably a good time, because you know how it goes, Christmas and all that. We tend to spend more money than we make. So it'd be a good month of November. Take advantage. Now, Niken's going to have a kickoff call, and I know they've got some announcements. Do not miss the kickoff call, because you don't want to be the last to find out about the announcements, like that diamond who didn't know we had a senior rank. Oh my God. So stay plugged in, be part of that kickoff call, find out what the incentives are for November and etc. That will tie into Christmas quite nicely and make our Christmas a very happy one. So, and I know you guys in the US have Thanksgiving coming up again. Some people might think, oh, what a great time to relax and just chill back. Well, you're going to be making contact with people. You're going to be interacting with people. They're going to be gauging and measuring what you're up to. And depending on how excited and thrilled you are about what you're up to, will determine whether or not they want to hear about it after Thanksgiving. So keep that in mind. You're the CEO of your business. The CEO never sleeps. The CEO is always the CEO. So be the best representative of your business and your opportunity, always. Show up, represent it well, because it is a reflection of you. So with that in mind, I'd like to say thanks for joining tonight. And I will send the recording out onto the chats if you want to watch it again or share it with somebody. Thanks for being here, guys. Have a good one.
Thanks. Get hungry.
Get hungry.
Thank you. Good night.